There was the NFL Combine this last week. Give me a second before I give you a couple of guys who obviously you can see down there who I want to talk about. Mainly one for sure. The Arizona Cardinals were 32nd in report card rankings. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really wanted to come in here on that Thursday and just lay in to Matt Ishbia. Just lay in to Michael Bidwell. I wanted to just give Michael Bidwell a piece of my mind. Because I don't know what I was expecting. And honestly, I forgot about the NFL report cards. Because it's been a new thing. This is only the third time it's came out. The Cardinals were one of the worst teams the first year. The second year, they were 27th. And then this year, they were literally dead last. Of all the 32 teams, they were the worst. And people oftentimes say this. Well, it's Monty Ossenfort. He's the one that's been frugal. What's going to stop the Arizona Cardinals this offseason is Monty Ossenfort's ability to not be frugal, not be quote-unquote cheap. The only thing holding the Arizona Cardinals back this offseason is Michael Bidwell. Will Bidwell be willing to spend money? Will Bidwell be willing to hurt his check pocket just a little bit more? Because you see the NFL grades, 32nd. This is a guy, for 2 years before this, was in the bottom half of NFL rankings. And it wasn't embarrassing to him. It wasn't embarrassing. And every owner looks at him and points and laughs. Because teams like the Raiders with good facilities aren't getting that issue, or whoever it is. The only thing that's not broken with this team in terms of the front office outside of Monty Ossenfort clearly is ownership. And it was great that Jonathan Gannon basically stood on his own and got an A- from players. That was awesome. It made me love Jonathan Gannon even more. And it's like, man, maybe they do have the right guy. The only thing holding the Arizona Cardinals back this week, the only thing holding the Arizona Cardinals back this offseason in free agency and in the trading market is Michael Bidwell. You see him come in last in the NFL player report cards. And you ask yourself, does he really care about winning? And you would be absolutely justified to say, no, he doesn't. And I'd say that's frustrating. But getting 32nd in the NFL player report cards after the first 2 years when you were already in the bottom third of teams, and that didn't wake you up, it's embarrassing. And I don't think he actually cares. I think as long as he's making a ton of money, he doesn't care. Monty Ossenfort is not going to be the reason why this team doesn't get free agents. Is not going to be the reason why he doesn't trade for a big splash player. You can argue he likes his draft picks, and that's fine. I like a guy that swings at the bats, especially a guy that drafts as well as Monty Ossenfort has drafted over the past 2 years. But if you're talking about the extra things, trades, free agency, it's not going to be Monty Ossenfort holding this team back. It's going to be Michael Bidwell, who's like, I don't know if I want to spend that much. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I care about winning that much. Ask the Eagles owner. You think they care? They won the Super Bowl. And they're like, yeah, let's go get Myles Garrett. Michael Bidwell is treating families poorly and has a crappy training room and his locker room is awful. And he's like, whatever, at least I'm making money. So what will hold back the Arizona Cardinals this offseason, if they are indeed held back from signing free agents, from trading from big-name stars, it will be Michael Bidwell. It will not be Monty Ossenfort. Why would Ossenfort not want to go get guys? You got to get that approval from ownership. And for a guy that's dead last in the NFL player report cards, wouldn't shock me if that's the case. Okay, I spent way too much time on that. You guys know my affinity for Skattebo. and why I want to see him in Arizona Cardinal red. And I get it. It is a little rich. And if they don't end up with him, I'm not going to be upset with the Cardinals because I just get it. It's a little much to go get another running back 2 years in a row. But I just love what this guy can do, and it looks like he's a freak of nature. And the things he did participate in at the NFL Combine, he was great at. So, freak athlete, his ability to run through the trenches, I want him in Arizona. But I understand the chips have to fall where they do. You still have really good running backs, but man, that guy fits the culture. Man, that guy fits everything about being an Arizona Cardinal right now. Tough, hard-nosed football. And the ability to be mentored under James Conner, which is basically what Cam Skattebo is, the college James Conner, that's a guy I really want on this team. But I get it. I understand it can be a little rich. Here's an NFL Combine hot take for you. And then we'll end it here from the Ben Garcia Show. And there'll be more Combine talk later in the week. But here's this. Tetairoa McMillan is falling down draft boards reportedly. T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan, the U of A wide receiver, is falling down draft boards a bit. And for everyone that's got anyone else ahead of Tetairoa McMillan as the number one wide receiver in the draft, I simply don't get it. I don't get it. People will say things like, oh, he's only caught go balls. Okay. I guess you and I don't see that kind of thing eye to eye. But Tetairoa McMillan is a freak of nature. And if he falls at 16 to the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals have to really think about just drafting Tetairoa McMillan. In the NFL draft, I think you make mistakes when you draft based upon need and not best available player. Now, sometimes those things overlap, and that's a beautiful thing. But oftentimes, you have to pick between best player available and need of your team. And I understand I was the one leading the charge last year on the maybe don't pick Marvin Harrison Jr. because you can fix things in the trenches. I get he's awesome. I get he's good, but I just think it's a little rich to take a wide receiver there. You could convince me that Tetairoa McMillan is exactly what this offense needs. Now, I understand this is a really hot take for now. We have to see what happens in the free agency space. Got to see if the Cardinals are able to secure a pass rusher, one of those three guys, Micah, Miles, or Max. We got to see what they do. Maybe they go get Zach Bond. I don't know. They've got to beef up this defense. But if things go well in free agency, where they're able to fill up some of their holes, especially defensively, that they don't necessarily have to shift their attention to in the NFL draft, if T-Mac falls to 16, Tetairoa McMillan, that for some reason is falling down draft boards, I think it might be exactly what this offense needs. 2 big body receivers on each of the ends. Taking you can't double cover anyone. I love the potential of T-Mac on the Arizona Cardinals. Now, listen, it has to go right. It has to make sense. And I think there's a real chance he doesn't fall to 16. But it sounds like he was the consensus number 1 wide receiver of this draft for months, years even. And for some reason now everyone is just forgetting how great he is because U of A wasn't great this year. But I love the idea of getting another freak of nature on offense and just continuously loading up. Because we know what Kyler Murray needs is a team offensively that is similar to what the Eagles did. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a top 8 guy. I really don't. But when you combine his talent and his ability to run the football as well as pass it, effectively with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, yeah, you can win a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray, T-Mac, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner, you're like, all right, you got the weapons. We have to see what they do in the draft. We have to see what they do in free agency. We have to see what they do before the draft even commences. But if T-Mac falls to 16, it's that old argument of, do you take best player available or do you take need? And I think mistakes are made when teams don't take the best player available.